Take 7. Hello everyone, welcome back to Plot One. Thanks for joining me. Right, what I'm going to do this time is I'm preparing the ground to plant some willow saplings, or whatever you call them, the sticks that I ordered about that high. I need about 1.5 meters wide by 4 meters strip at the back of my plot, underneath these cypress trees. So I've got a lot of hard graft to do. I know there's going to be loads of rubbish under that soil. Let's get started. Down the bank, I've made a big clearing, and with the cleared branches, which are all dead anyway, I've made a dead hedge. So I've got a bit more clearing to do, but you can see I've tucked all the dead hedging branches and trunks and so on behind the buddleia and the other tree and some other obstacles. That's the buddleia that was hanging over the end of the plot, and so I've cut that off, see what happens next year. I've not raked that back because, one, there's overwintering bumblebees in the soil there, so I'm not going to disturb that too much. I'll wait till the spring. And two, that's where the woodland cyclamen comes through, and I don't want to destroy it, so I'm going to go nice and steady in the spring there. I've marked out in the soil a little strip I'm going to clear down here, about 1 meter wide and about 4 meters long. The intention is to plant some willow sticks this winter, and then from those willow sticks each following year I'll harvest the growing willow stems and make some living willow structures around the plot. That's the plan. But first of all, I've got to clear a bit more away here and make sure the soil is fully prepared. Just dug this half a tree trunk. I don't think it's a telegraph pole. I'm sure it looks like some kind of tree trunk. So we're at the back end of the plot. That's the pathway down here, right in the middle there. That's the pathway. It's going to come down to the end here. And this is where I'm digging, at this end of the plot. I'm filling up this bucket and emptying it out in the hedgerow, the dead hedge. That's the only place I can put it to make like a kind of hibernaculum. Glass there again, loads of glass found in this bit, loads of plastic, etc. That's that bit there. You can see my dry stone wall down there. It will all eventually become clearer, don't worry. That stuff I've been collecting from the undergrowth. Here's the bank, and then there's that long big tree stump, or half a tree stump split that I found. That's going to form a dead hedge. And then again, these big lumps of concrete buried under this soil. So I'm going to have to shift it. I've got to shift it. So that little thin narrow post there is where I'm going to dig up to. This is going to remain a pathway around the back of the plot. So I'm going to dig down here, down to this post here, and then the pathway is a meter there, look. That's going to go all the way down the other side of the plot to meet that pathway there. So there's that strip now fully dug. We've got 1 meter wide, 1.5 meters wide here, and up to the top there is about 4 meters. And I'm going to plant 2 rows to create like a hedging effect, even though I'm going to harvest the whips each year. And you can see over here piles of stones that I've collected as I've gone. All those rocks and stones, concrete basically, and rubbish and everything come out of this little strip of soil. Would you believe it? All this big tree trunk as well came out. There's so much. And then up the bank here I've been tipping away bucket loads of large pebbles. The small pebbles I've left in the ground, but you can see there's absolute tons of pebbles. Anyway, that will form like a hibernaculum for the wildlife to hide away in the winter. So I'm going to plant 2 rows of willow along this strip here in like diagonal offset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So these are the willow cuttings that came in the post. There's 11 there. That's the way up they've got to be planted, because you can tell by these little sprouting leaves or nodules or nodes or whatever they are going upwards. So that's the way they're planted. I've got 11 there, a bonus one. and I'm going to plant them halfway into the soil. Right, I've temporarily just put those in the ground, spaced them out 60 centimetres apart in 2 rows. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but it's just temporary. What I'm going to do is use my dibbing tool here, that one. I've marked off halfway up the length of each cutting. I'm going to put that in the ground, make a hole, large hole, and then fill it with a bit of compost, because this ground is very stony, and when it goes dry it's really dry. So I'm going to put some compost in, and then I'm going to put the cutting in halfway down, and then I'm going to put a framework up around it, I think, to try and protect them. Well, I don't know whether I'm going to do a framework, but it's a fairly straightforward job. Right, I'm not sure if you can see the willow sticks there, the cuttings, there, there, and there. What I've decided to do, I don't know if it's going to work, but to try and stop any foxes from pulling them up, because they're so fragile, I've tied the canes together with string and then lightly covered the string with soil. So hopefully the foxes won't start biting and chewing it and digging it up and digging out the willow cuttings. So fingers crossed, next spring we should see some new growth on those willow cuttings. Well, that was a load of fun, wasn't it? So yeah, it's hard work still, and there's still so much to do, but the willow saplings should sprout in the first year. These ones should come up about 9–10 foot high, I reckon. So fingers crossed for next year, I'll be harvesting those willow whips, and I'll be making some living structures, not least the archway on the entrance to the plot. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you again soon. Cheers.